There comes a moment in every pursuit when the weight of effort begins to press upon you. The body feels heavy, the mind begins to doubt, and the journey that once seemed exciting turns into a test of sheer will. That is the moment fatigue whispers stop. But the truth is, that very whisper is proof that you are standing near the gate of victory. You see, fatigue is not the enemy, it is a messenger. It arrives only when you have ventured far enough, when your effort has begun to bend reality in your favor. Most turn back at that moment, mistaking exhaustion for defeat. But the wise know that tiredness is simply the body's way of announcing that growth is happening, that the impossible is beginning to yield. Every mountain grows steeper before the summit. Every dream becomes heaviest right before it takes form. The hours of repetition, the quiet work done without applause, the persistence when results seem invisible, all of it compounds quietly. And then, just before breakthrough, comes the storm of fatigue. It is not punishment, it is preparation. If you're tired, it means you've been doing the work. It means you've been faithful to your purpose. It means you've resisted comfort long enough to stretch beyond your old self. Tiredness is the proof of effort, and effort is the price of victory. Remember this, the human mind will quit long before the body truly does. Fatigue often begins in the imagination. The moment you decide to keep moving even a single step more, you discover that strength was never gone. It was simply waiting behind the curtain of doubt. Each push forward trains your mind to obey your vision, not your weakness. Learn to rest, but never to quit. Rest to restore, not to retreat. The greatest achievers knew the balance between pause and persistence. They paused to gather strength, but never abandoned the climb. Victory does not belong to the swift, it belongs to the steady, to those who refuse to let tiredness define the end of their journey. So when you find yourself weary, remind yourself, this is the threshold. The finish line is not behind you. It is closer than ever. The pain you feel is temporary, but the strength you build in enduring it will last forever. Stay the course. Keep walking, for if you are tired, you are closer than ever to victory. There comes a time in every person's pursuit when fatigue becomes the uninvited companion that tests the very essence of one's purpose. It creeps in quietly after long hours of work, countless sacrifices and invisible efforts that seem to yield little reward. This feeling of exhaustion can be deceptive. It convinces many to stop, to turn back, to believe that tiredness means they've reached their limit. But in truth, tiredness often means you are closer than ever to the point where things begin to change. Fatigue doesn't visit those who never begin. It comes to those who have already walked far, who have given enough to make a difference, who are now standing at the edge of progress. When your body aches and your mind questions your strength, it's not a sign that you failed. It's a sign that you are transforming. Every breakthrough is preceded by a moment of great resistance. The mountain is always steepest near the summit. The runner's legs burn most in the final stretch before the finish line. The artist, the dreamer, the builder, they all know the struggle that comes before mastery. The truth is, fatigue is not the enemy of progress. It's proof that you're engaged in something meaningful enough to demand your best. It is the friction that sharpens the soul and builds the endurance necessary for lasting victory. The ordinary mind wants comfort, but greatness demands persistence. When you push through the fatigue, you enter a space where few have the courage to go. Most people surrender when the excitement fades and the effort begins to feel heavy. But those who continue, even when enthusiasm is gone, discover a deeper force within themselves, discipline. That discipline is the quiet power that carries you forward when inspiration has vanished. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the achievers. When tiredness sets in, your mind begins to fabricate reasons to stop. It will whisper that you've done enough, that progress is too slow, that it's easier to rest now and try again later. But that moment of temptation is the crossroads where success and failure part ways. The body can endure far more than the mind believes. The limitation is almost never physical, it's psychological. The real battle happens within, between the voice that says, I can't, and the quiet conviction that says, just one more step. Every time you choose to move forward despite your fatigue, you rewrite the story of who you are. You prove to yourself that your will is stronger than your weakness. It's important to understand that rest and quitting are not the same. Rest is an act of wisdom. Quitting is an act of surrender. Rest renews your strength so that you may rise again. Quitting erases the effort you've already given. Those who master the rhythm of work and recovery find their progress compounding. They pause to gather strength but never lose sight of the vision. Fatigue reminds you that you've been moving, that you've been building, that you've been faithful to your purpose. It is not a signal to stop, but a reminder of how far you've come. Every great achievement in history was born from someone who felt exactly what you feel when you're tired. They too faced days when it seemed easier to walk away, but they didn't. They pressed on through the weight of weariness. And somewhere beyond that threshold, the door to victory open. The effort that feels unbearable today will one day be remembered as the defining moment of your breakthrough. The struggle that drains you now is the same struggle that strengthens you for what lies ahead. The tiredness you feel is not the end of your journey. It is the proof that you are still in the fight, that you are still reaching, still believing, still becoming. The closer you get to the edge of greatness, the heavier the burden feels, because you are carrying the weight of transformation itself. Those who refuse to give in to fatigue are the ones who rise to meet the dawn of victory. There is a certain truth that life reveals only to those who persist beyond the point of comfort. Fatigue is not a stranger on the road to success. It is the constant companion of those who chase something greater than themselves. When you feel weary, when your spirit begins to question the path ahead, that is not the time to stop. It is the sign that you are reaching the outer limits of your old self. Tiredness is the evidence of progress, the proof that you've been in motion, that you've been investing your time, your energy, your heart into something meaningful. Most people mistake this moment as a warning to retreat, but it is, in fact, the body's declaration that you are moving closer to transformation. The path to any form of victory is paved with moments of exhaustion. Every athlete, every creator, every leader has faced the point where the mind says no while the heart quietly urges them to continue. The reason so many never cross the line into greatness is that they confuse weariness with weakness. But being tired is not a sign that you're incapable. It's a signal that you've been enduring the weight of growth. Growth always demands discomfort. Progress always arrives wearing the mask of fatigue. If you were still in the beginning, you wouldn't feel so drained. It's the distance covered, the battles fought, the consistency maintained that make the journey heavy but worthwhile. At the core of every dream lies a test, a threshold where determination is measured not by how you start, but by how you continue when enthusiasm has faded. When you first begin, you are fueled by excitement, by vision, by the thrill of possibility. But as time passes, that spark dims and the reality of hard work takes over. This is where many lose their way. They forget that the struggle they face is not punishment, but preparation. It's shaping them into the kind of person who can carry the success they're striving for. Fatigue is the sculptor of resilience. It chisels away the impatience, the fear, the doubt, leaving behind only strength and clarity. When your body cries out for rest, understand that your mind is being tested. The human body can withstand more than we imagine, but the mind gives up long before the body truly needs to stop. This is why persistence is so rare and so valuable. The people who rise above the rest are not those with perfect conditions or endless motivation. They are those who refuse to be ruled by their fatigue. They learn to use tiredness as a compass, not a barrier. When it appears, they know they are walking the right path because no one ever grows stronger in ease and comfort. There will be days when your spirit feels dim, when progress feels invisible, when the effort seems to go unrewarded. Those are the days that define your character. If you continue to give your best even when no one is watching, even when no results appear, you are developing the quiet power that makes victory inevitable. The world doesn't reward the early bursts of energy. It rewards those who stay the course long after excitement fades. Success is not given to the strongest or the fastest, but to those who endure the longest. When you reach that point of weariness, when every part of you wants to stop, that is where the real transformation begins. It's not the first step that changes you. It's the last one, the one you take when you believe you have nothing left. Fatigue reveals who you truly are. It strips away the superficial reasons and leaves you face to face with your purpose. If that purpose is strong enough, you'll find the will to move forward once more. And though you may not see it now, each moment of endurance draws you closer to the breakthrough that has been waiting for you all along. There is a moment in every journey where the body grows weary, the spirit feels stretched, and the mind begins to question the purpose of continuing. It is a quiet yet powerful moment, because it's often the final barrier between the ordinary and the extraordinary. When you are tired, truly tired from giving your all, it means you ventured far from the comfort zone where most people remain. Fatigue appears not at the beginning, but near the point of breakthrough. It is life's way of testing your commitment, asking how much you truly desire the result you've been chasing. The tiredness you feel is not a signal to stop. It is the universe's whisper that you are closer than ever to the very thing you've been working toward. In the early stages of any pursuit, enthusiasm carries you effortlessly. The vision is clear, the motivation feels boundless, and the effort feels exciting. But time is a way of wearing away that initial spark. What once felt thrilling begins to feel like labor. The road becomes longer and progress seems slower. It is in this phase that the majority give up. They mistake exhaustion for failure, not realizing that the final stretch is always the hardest. The weight of persistence increases because you are now carrying the lessons, experiences, and expectations built along the way. Fatigue is a natural consequence of effort. It arrives as proof that you've been consistent long enough for progress to start taking shape. Every success story carries a hidden chapter of exhaustion, the nights of doubt, the quiet moments when giving up felt easier than holding on. Yet those who endured discovered something remarkable. The point of greatest fatigue often precedes the point of greatest growth. It's a pattern repeated across time. The athlete who feels their legs burn in the final lap. The artist who struggles through the last brushstroke. The builder who continues to lay one more brick when their hands tremble. Each discovers that the reward always sits just beyond the threshold of tiredness. It's not coincidence. It's the nature of progress itself. Growth resists ease. It demands endurance. When you feel the weight of exhaustion pressing on you, recognize that it is your mind, not your potential, that is reaching its limit. The mind begins to protest when discomfort arises, creating stories to justify rest or retreat. But if you can quiet those voices even for a moment, you'll realize that strength still remains within you. There's always one more step available, one more ounce of effort left to give. It's in those final efforts, when everything in you says to stop, that true character is revealed. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who do not is rarely talent. It is the willingness to keep moving when tiredness becomes unbearable. Fatigue, when seen correctly, is not an obstacle, but a teacher. It teaches patience, humility, and perseverance. It strips away arrogance and forces you to rely on purpose rather than passion. Passion fades, but purpose endures. When you are guided by something larger than yourself, the body's fatigue becomes a small price to pay for fulfillment. Each act of endurance refines you, toughens you, and aligns you more closely with the person you're meant to become. Every drop of effort adds weight to your momentum, and momentum, once built, is unstoppable. There is a quiet power in reaching the point of exhaustion and choosing to move forward anyway. In that decision, you transcend the limitations of comfort and enter the realm where transformation happens. The tiredness that feels unbearable today is the very signal that your old limits are being broken. It is the sign that your growth is underway, that you are pushing beyond what once defined you. The effort you give now in fatigue and silence is the effort that will echo long after victory is achieved. There comes a point in every worthwhile pursuit when you begin to feel the weight of your own ambition pressing against you. The energy that once fueled you starts to fade, and the excitement that once burned brightly begins to dim. The mind grows heavy, the body resists, and the spirit questions whether it is worth continuing. This moment is universal, and yet it is misunderstood by most. Fatigue has been misread as failure, but in truth, it is the proof of progress. You do not grow tired from standing still. You grow tired from moving forward. The fact that you feel weary means you have already come a long way. It means you are no longer where you began, and that every ounce of effort has carried you closer to the point where change becomes real. The truth about success is that it is not built in moments of comfort. It is shaped in those hours when you are tempted to stop, when every step forward feels like a battle. It is easy to work when strength is full and motivation is high, but the true test of one's spirit is found in those quiet moments of exhaustion. That is where greatness begins. Fatigue signals that you have reached the boundary between the old version of yourself and the stronger one waiting to emerge. It is not a wall meant to stop you. It is a doorway meant to test your resolve. If you can push through that doorway, if you can endure just a little longer, you will find that what once felt impossible becomes the very thing you were born to do. The closer you get to achieving something significant, the heavier the resistance feels. It's as if life wants to see how badly you want it. It places obstacles in your path, not to punish you, but to prepare you for the weight of what's coming. Fatigue is one of those obstacles. It humbles you, slows you down, and forces you to rely not on excitement but on discipline. When you no longer feel inspired but still continue, that's when you discover the difference between a wish and a commitment. Everyone wishes for success, but only the committed continue when the wish no longer feels exciting. That quiet persistence, born out of fatigue, is what separates those who stop from those who finish. It is in the moments of exhaustion that your mind will begin to play tricks on you. It will whisper that you've done enough, that no one will notice if you quit, that your dream isn't worth the sacrifice. But the mind's greatest deception is convincing you to stop when you're almost there. Every step you've taken, every hour you've spent, every sacrifice you've made, they all gather momentum that cannot be seen until the very end. The last phase of the journey always demands the most from you because it is the phase that matters most. It's the final stretch before the dawn, the last mile before the finish line. Those who endure that phase discover that tiredness was never the end. It was the threshold of victory. The human spirit is far stronger than it believes. When you think you've reached your limit, You've only reached the surface of your strength. Beneath the fatigue lies another reservoir of power, waiting to be tapped. But it only reveals itself to those who refuse to quit. The ones who learn to move even while tired unlock a form of resilience that comfort can never teach. The discomfort, the pain, the fatigue, all of it becomes fuel. And once you learn that tiredness is not a signal to stop, but a sign that you're almost there, your relationship with effort changes forever. You begin to welcome the struggle because you understand that every ounce of it is proof that you're still in motion, still alive, still on the path to victory. Tiredness is one of the most misunderstood parts of the human experience. People often believe that being tired is a sign to quit, a signal that they have reached their limit, but the truth is much deeper. Fatigue does not come to those who stand still. It visits only those who have been moving, those who have been striving, those who have given their energy to something that matters. To feel tired is to know that you have been investing your time, your heart, and your strength into something worth doing. And though exhaustion may make you doubt your ability to continue, it is, in fact, the clearest indication that you are moving closer to the result you desire. It is life's way of showing that your efforts are creating friction. And friction is always the sign of forward motion. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has encountered the same moment of weariness. The business builder who works late into the night, the student who studies past exhaustion, the dreamer who keeps pushing despite countless setbacks, they all reach the point where they begin to question whether their energy has run out. Yet, in those moments, when the body aches and the will begins to waver, something remarkable happens. If they continue even a little longer, if they take one more step, one more action, one more breath of faith, they begin to see that tiredness was not the end but the final test. It was the barrier that separates the ones who talk about victory from those who earn it. Fatigue in its purest form is not your enemy. It is the proof that you are alive and in pursuit. It means that you are stretching beyond what was once comfortable, and in doing so, you are expanding your capacity for growth. Comfort never builds character. Ease never builds strength. The moments that drain you are the moments that develop you. What you are becoming is shaped in those long hours when you keep moving, not because you feel powerful, but because you choose not to give up. That choice, made again and again in the face of fatigue, is what forges unbreakable character. It teaches you to rely on purpose instead of pleasure, discipline instead of desire. There is a rhythm to success, a pattern that repeats itself across every story of achievement. At first, there is excitement, the bright energy of beginning. Then comes consistency, the daily effort that builds momentum. And finally, fatigue, the stage where your dedication is truly tested. Most people quit at this third stage, believing that exhaustion means failure. But those who persist understand that fatigue is not a wall, it's a signal that the finish line is near. The body resists the hardest when it is closest to completion. The storm is fiercest right before it clears. The darkness is deepest before the sunrise. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is the law of endurance. The weight grows heavier not to break you, but to prepare you to carry the victory waiting on the other side. In those moments when you feel completely drained, when every thought tells you that it's time to stop, pause but do not quit. Rest if you must, but never retreat. Fatigue is temporary, regret lasts forever. The body will recover, the mind will reset, but the memory of quitting will remain as a quiet ache. To keep moving even when tired is to prove to yourself that your purpose is stronger than your pain. It is to rise above the weakness of the moment and claim the strength that comes only from perseverance. Every step you take while weary becomes the foundation for a stronger, wiser, more capable version of yourself. And the beauty of this truth is simple yet powerful. When you feel most exhausted, you are not far from the end of your struggle. You are standing on the threshold of victory itself. There is a moment in every great pursuit when exhaustion sets in so deeply that it seems to echo through your entire being. Your body feels heavy, your mind grows foggy, and your spirit begins to question everything you've been working for. This is the moment that decides everything. Most people see tiredness as a warning sign, a message that they've reached their limit. But in truth, tiredness is not the signal to stop. It is the signal that you are nearing the point where the impossible begins to bend. Fatigue appears at the edge of change, right when the old version of you is breaking down to make space for the stronger one to emerge. To feel tired is to know that you are in motion, that you are giving effort worthy of transformation. When you begin something new, energy is easy to find. The vision excites you, the progress feels fast, and the promise of success fills your thoughts with motivation. But as time passes, that initial fire begins to cool. The journey becomes longer, harder, and quieter. You begin to realize that growth demands more than inspiration. It demands endurance. It demands the strength to keep showing up even when the reward isn't visible yet. The fatigue that comes during this stage is not proof that you've lost your strength, it's proof that you've been using it. The weight you feel is the weight of progress, and it only grows heavier because you've carried it so far already. The people who achieve extraordinary results are not those who never grow tired. They are the ones who understand what tiredness truly means. They know that fatigue is a companion of those who refuse to settle. Every step forward requires energy, and energy is not infinite. But the deeper truth is that strength is renewed through purpose. When your body says no, but your heart still believes, something powerful awakens within you, a new level of resolve, a new depth of resilience. That is where true success is born. It is not born in the moments of ease, but in the moments when you continue despite your weariness. Tiredness is not a wall, but a threshold. When you reach it, you have a choice as to stop and surrender, or to push and transcend. Most will stop, thinking they have nothing left to give. But those who keep going discover something miraculous. Their limits were never real. The body and mind conspire to protect you from discomfort. But beyond that discomfort lies your greatest potential. The extra mile that few ever walk is the very mile where victory resides. When you continue beyond exhaustion, you no longer move with mere strength, you move with spirit. You begin to see that pain is temporary, but growth is permanent, that the price of persistence is far smaller than the cost of regret. Every person who has ever done something remarkable has stood in this same place of fatigue. The writer staring at a blank page, the athlete pushing through the final lap, the entrepreneur staying awake to solve one more problem, they all meet the same test. And every one of them, in that test, faces the same question: will you stop here? Or will you prove that what drives you is greater than what drains you? Fatigue is the point where purpose either fades or flourishes. If you keep your focus on why you began, you will find that even in your tiredness, there remains a spark strong enough to move you forward. The feeling of exhaustion is not the end of your journey. It is the refining fire through which victory is shaped. The closer you get to the outcome you've been working for, the stronger the resistance becomes, not because you are weak, but because success demands everything you have. It is nature's way of ensuring that only those who are truly committed reach the summit. And so, when you find yourself tired, when your energy feels spent and your faith begins to tremble, remember that it is in this very moment that you are nearest to the finish line. Fatigue is not a sign of failure. It is the sign that the struggle is almost over, that the reward you've been working toward is within reach, waiting for you to take one more step forward.